this moment? Is this our last goodbye? Then we end each other. I guess one of us lied. So please just pull away. I can't look you in the face. I don't wanna have to lie. I wanted this love to survive. Now when I look in your I feel paralyzed. Now I know it's over. I see you passing by, hand in hand, with your perfect light. My body, a ghost town, feels like someone cut out my tongue. I didn't know a heart could die this young. Oh, now when I look in your eyes, I feel paralyzed.
Sponge VII. thanks for everyone to come out and hang out with us today. We've got a lot that we're going to go over, so basically I'm just going to jump right into it with introductions. With us today, we have Gabazo, who is our newly promoted Sponge leader that a lot of you saw on the forums.
Hello.
We have Gregabite with us, who not only does the team speak, but now he is the unfortunate sap who's going to have to deal with the Google Docs.
Hello.
We have Mumfrey with us, who is doing our streaming today with the changes I've made, and we hope that you really enjoy our new format.
Yeah, I'm also a wizard.
We have Aaron with us today, who will be talking about some development with me as well.
Hello.
We have Demon with us, and hopefully he'll be talking about some things to deal with the populators today.
Hello.
Inscrutable is here with us to give us our doc shout out and plenty of flard.
Greetings from Australia.
We have OX with us, who's going to be talking about our preparation towards the beta release, as well as things to deal with the forums.
Good day, everyone.
We have Saladoc here with us, who is emotional support to Inscrutable, but yet again, the doc shout out.
Yeah, very emotional. Hello.
He's the guy that does everything.
And we also have TZK with us, who is also doing emotional support with Inscrutable.
Hey, hello there.
All right, so I think that covers everyone. Did I miss anyone? Nope. All right. So let's go ahead and get right down to it. The very first thing up on the agenda is we're going to be talking about development and some of the changes that we've made since the last State of Sponge. So in State of Sponge 6, which for those of you watch, you know that we went over a bunch of stuff in regards to some of the really cool things that Blood did with kind of like event tracking, being able to determine who does what on a much greater degree than what has been available on past server APIs, such as Bucket or anyone else. And since that point, we got a whole bunch of feedback. We got a whole bunch of reports in from people who tested it and determined, there was flaws here and there. And we've made a whole bunch of changes to the system. Ever since then, we got redstone tracking into place, which means now we are able to fully track from end to end whoever activates a piece of redstone contraption who did it. Some of us got on to the test server that Blood was on. I know Gabazo did, Aaron did, and a couple of others. And basically, we can even track even to the most extreme. I think we tracked an 8-bit CPU from start to finish. I think so. Yep, we did.
That was from Voxabox as well.
Oh, so from the Voxabox. Excellent. And at this point, we're pretty satisfied that we have most of the tracking in place that we want it to be. We're still fixing a couple of just edge cases and bugs here and there. I do want to give a shout out to a couple of folks, such as Faith Ko or Callow. I don't know if I said that right, as well as Gravity Vox from the forums for helping us out so much and reporting issues on it. So, shout out to you guys. From here, with some of the other stuff we're going to talk about today, such as damage now being in place, we've got most of the core aspects that we wanted to get done where events are concerned, and we're just firing events now. And we're fixing up causes, making sure that the causes are correct, and we're going to go from here. So that's basically pretty much it for event tracking, and we'll hopefully show some of that today. It depends upon how the time goes. So from event tracking, I'm going to turn it over to Gabazo and let him talk about damage a little bit.
Right, so damage has always been something of an interesting event. Long ago in Bucket Land, it used to be something that, I know the amount of raw damage coming in, but I don't know how much damage is going out. And a while ago, I believe in 1.7.10 of their release, they exposed something called damage modifiers, where the event was brought from a pre-damage to actually kind of a pseudo-post, where they exposed the various values of how much damage is being modified by, for example, armor, enchantments, potion effects like resistance, absorption, etc., etc., etc. And it was a neat thing, but of course, this is Sponge, so we have to kind of take it a step further. And in Sponge, what I've been able to do is not just expose how much damage is being reduced by a certain modifier, but expose the full-on function so that you can recalculate and actually modify the function for the damage event. Down to the fine-grained support of armor, the individual armor item stacks and the individual enchantments. And this has full mod support already, by the way, because Forge did provide some hooks, but I spent about a good 8 hours debugging that to make it fully work. Yeah, you're able to get quite a hefty amount of information, and it's using causes to also identify what the objects are contributing to damage modifiers. But aside from that, that's about it for damage events.
I figured I would go ahead and I seen something real quick that someone has said something here. Oh yeah, it looks like Faith KO answered it. Someone had mentioned that's awesome and all, but what if we just want to cancel the damage event? Well, it's no different than any other event. You just cancel it. Yep. I mean, there's no magic to it. Another thing too is we've seen this brought up by more than a couple of people. They've asked, can we have an event for when an entity dies, or well, in this case, when a living dies? Being able to have that event and then going further and having it to where if you can cancel it, which has been most people's questions about it, can we cancel death? Canceling death is really strange, because if I'm falling into the void and I die and you cancel, what happens to me? Do I keep falling? Do you set me back at half health? If I had X amount of characteristics change, if a mod changes something about me when I die, how do we roll that back? It's impossible. You can't do it 100%. So the way we've seen it is that a lot of people just wanted to know if this damage is going to kill you. And if it is, can we cancel it and do something else? For sure. We added a method into damage entity event, and I think is it called Will's Cause Death?
Yeah, Will Cause Death is correct.
Okay. Yeah, so Will Cause Death, if you call that and you're a living that has health and you're going to die based upon the modifiers that are in place, then it'll return true. Otherwise, obviously false. And we think that having that right there is going to basically cover everyone's kind of, desire to have this event in place. And then there we go. We don't need to have a cancelable death. So do you have just kind of like a little code example that you can show the modifiers? I think you're doing something with it.
Well, code.
If you let me know where to go.
Yeah, I can pull that out.
Okay.
Just give me a
Because I
moment.
think it would be handy to show something from it. Seeing how it is very, very newly added.
I know I did it in World's Test, and that was quite simple. Sorry for the delay.
No problem.
No. Alright, Adam.
Just pop it in staff channel.
Yeah. I'm gonna post it as well in the general Twitch chat.
There we go. Don't wait for it to come up on stream. The stream's a little bit behind.
Yeah,
remember.
that's the general plugin listener. If you look in dash staff, there's the second gist, and that's the output with modded. Actually, oh no, that's just normal diamond armor. But that's what you could expect as the actual output from that plugin.
And basically, what we're really showing right here is, you know, when you think of damage, when someone hits you and you have armor on, each armor is just applying a damage reduction. And then obviously at the end, if there's anything left, then, you know, you get dealt that to your health. And what we're showing is that you can fine-tune, change the resistance, or in this case the modifier, for each of those armor pieces. And whereas it doesn't show it right here, you can absolutely determine if it's from a mod and then change the modifier that's going to get applied. So it really lets you make some very, very interesting pieces of equipment that you can have, even with vanilla. You know, obviously with mods do like fancy, you know, new textures for equipment and new equipment pieces and such, and that's all well and good. But for vanilla, you can have two different pieces of like diamond helmets, and one diamond helmet can have, you know, a lore name. You know, diamond helmet of extreme resistance or some other shenanigans like that. And it can have a much higher damage resistance, you know, using solely the fact that you can configure the damage modifiers in a very meaningful way. So the damage stuff is awesome. And Gabazo and Blood and everyone else involved in it definitely outdid themselves on it. And it came about a lot quicker than I thought it would.
Yeah, it took something like 2 days to crank it out.
Yep, I was thinking so. Seems about right. So I think that basically covers everything with damage. As plugin developers start using it and they find any problems with it, obviously we'll get things fixed up as tickets come in. But right now, I mean, it looks pretty good. So
I'm just gonna link one last one that is a little more elaborate. Includes 8 damage modifiers, including
wow.
enchantments.
Yeah, that's pretty
Okay.
insane.
yeah, so if we're gonna open that up on the stream, let's take a look at that one.
You gotta remember the stream's like 12-15 seconds behind for you guys.
Yeah,
Right.
That's what I was thinking, roughly around there. So if you want to just, let's see here, we got some enchantments. Oh, I've seen this one. No,
Yeah.
I actually have not. I don't think so.
Oh, this is, you can see and read in the cause, it's an explosion, specifically from a creeper. If you scroll to the far right, there's a little bit more information that's included in the cause. It should be something like owner is the entity player Gabazu. But the...
Yeah, there's all sorts of things. I've just found your dead beef as well.
yeah.
Yeah, I found source is entity player MP Gambizu.
Yeah. The source is primarily because, you know, it's the player that is currently wearing the armor. Though I do believe that I expanded on it to include the item. No, it is, yeah. It does include the item stack snapshot, so you can query all sorts of information from that modifier. Yeah. So it's definitely modularized in that sense.
It seems like it's a very powerful system.
Right, especially if you're wanting to, if you really want to make, even with vanilla, make extremely varied pieces of equipment. Because someone could do something like, isn't there a mod that's called Diablo Drops or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, someone could easily do that with Sponge now. That's not a problem.
Yep.
Just obviously not with different textures and such, but if they wanted to be pure vanilla. So, I think that basically, I think that covers the damage stuff. So, obviously, if you've got questions, we'll answer them after the presentation today. And yeah, so let's move on from here to AI. So AI's been kind of my baby, and I brought Aaron into it as well, because both of us really love just kind of messing around with the entities and making them do really bizarre things that you would not expect. Some of the things that I've done personally is I've made creepers run as fast as Endermen do away from anything and everything, which is funny because if I drop an item on the ground, they'll just bolt it away because I made them afraid of them. Another thing I've done too is, for those that know about horses, if you sit on a horse and it's not been tamed, the horse kind of runs around a bit. And I made them to where when they run around, their speed increases drastically by a factor of 20. And so it'll actually make what I call rocket horses, which basically the server kind of says, you really shouldn't be moving this fast with a player on you. So it takes us off it generally takes us off. It's not guaranteed, but the horse will launch out into the air and out into like the ocean or, some area nearby. So it's a bunch of fun. The big things that I've done with phase 1 of AI is I have put in the goal in the task system. Basically, a goal is just a series of tasks that are going to be executed. Most of the living entities in vanilla have, actually all of them, have 2 goals. One is find a target, one is to execute everything else. The API as it stands right now has some of the vanilla AI interfaced out. As I, take a desire to kind of mess around with more AI, I go and I interface one out. It's really quick and easy to do it. At least I think so. I also support doing custom AI tasks. I think I can provide you some code to use, Gabby. Just 1 second, or Adam. Here, I'll show some code off that's messing with AI.
Where am I looking?
I'm going to hand you a link.
Okay, stick it in dashed off.
There you go. I can also paste it to the channel too.
I'm not 100% sure that... Is the channel chat being streamed while you... Oh, yes, it is.
No, not currently, because I've got the code on the screen at the moment. I'm not sure there's quite a lot of code here.
Yep, there is. So just scroll down, ignore the command, because the command's just spawning humans in, so keep going.
Yeah, got it.
You're going to get to the one that deals with spawn entity event.
Yeah.
And I'm doing a whole bunch of junk here.
Oh, wow, yeah. All horses belong to you. Run, fast.
Yep.
Make fraidy cats more fraidy. Chickens are annoying.
Great, we have great
Just have that
English.
as a plugin. Chickens are
Yeah,
annoying.
so it's definitely not the most efficient plugin in the world, but it's just for testing. So when I'm just wanting to kind of mess around with stuff, I'll just make something new. And obviously, if I'm kind of sitting here working on my own, and I've been working at it for a while, I tend to go a little cuckoo, I guess, and I think of weird comments to kind of make it fun and refreshing. So the very first one I did was the rocket horses. Um, and basically when I started doing some kind of fooling around with humans and zombies and such, I commented a lot of it out because I didn't want them to interfere. So that right there shows me configuring the vanilla AI when those particular entities are spawned. It spawns it it changes it for that entity. It doesn't change it for all of them. Right now, with all the other stuff commented out, the only one left is the spammer task, which basically just has it when a zombie spawns and the zombie is owned by me. So I'm also showing that if I'm the owner of it, well, before I commented out, but if I'm the owner of it, which is the event.getCause.anyPlayer.class, so if someone owns the zombie, then it's going to run my custom AI task, which is at the bottom of this class. And basically the only thing it does is I turn it on every now and then to test that I didn't break something, but I think the last thing I had it doing was just spamming to death.
Well, it's called spammer task, yeah.
Yep. I also kind of messed around with this and did some malicious things too, just to kind of see what I could do. Basically, I could have the zombie send commands to the server, which goes about as well as one might think it actually does. So there's definitely lots of things that you can do here that are interesting or malicious or etc. But this is kind of the one thing I don't think anyone's ever added an AI API before, not that I know of. I know Bucket avoided it like the plague. Forge doesn't do anything with it besides, you're just told to extend a Minecraft class to do it. Yeah, no one's ever done it. And before 1.8, it was really, really tough to do it because there was a mix between the new AI and the old system. And it was really bad. With 1.8, everything uses the new AI API now in Minecraft. So I was just able to kind of hook into it for Sponge's needs. So that's basically all there is for phase 1 of it. Phase 2 will have me adding the Pathfinder to Sponge, interface into the Minecraft Pathfinder. And then from there, you are easily able to write AI that is on the same level as the Minecraft ones. But I think most people are really more concerned about configuring the vanilla AI, maybe making them more aggressive, maybe speeding up zombies as they chase after you, or making creepers faster, or maybe making them slow down, making them stop. There are so many things that you can do with it, so many things that you can configure with the vanilla stuff. It would take quite a bit of time to kind of go into it here and to really show to everything that you can do. If you're interested in it, seek me out on the IRC, ping me, and I'll show you some of the cool stuff that you can do with it. As far as getting this branch into master, I pushed a couple more things with it today. It's already been ready to go. I could already merge it in if I wanted to, I just haven't. I'm going to finish the last 2 tasks that I added today, and then I'll probably just go ahead and merge it in so people can go ahead and start messing with it. And then we'll go from there. So if there's anything that you wanted to add, Aaron, as far as AI is concerned?
Well, I guess maybe just one thing. This is sort of more of a technical thing, but it'd be interesting to note for any mods that deal with AI. So, you might have noticed from looking at the example code that plugin tasks need to extend abstract AI task. We've done some bytecode engineering in the implementation, so we've made it so that class actually extends the Minecraft AI class. So what this really means for plugins is that if any mod wants to go take a look at AI, they won't see some kind of wrapped Sponge AI class, they'll just see your class directly.
Oh, that's a really good point too. And I really didn't touch base on that either. This system fully works with mods. I can grab the mod AI. If you do have a dependency on the mod, you can grab the AI task, because I have an event. It's called AI task event. And there's 2 phases underneath it. There's add and remove. So you just listen to the add event when a mod adds a task, and it's the same when a plugin as well. So either, it doesn't matter. The AI task coming in, you can see what it is. If you have a dependency on a mod like Thaumcraft, if you have a D-off jar and you depend upon it, or Mo Creatures, if you have one of those, or basically anything else that does anything with AI, you can grab their class, and if they have anything exposed, any setters or anything like that you want to change, you can easily change it. There's nothing stopping you from doing so. And I just want to make it clear that add task will fire for plugin, mods, and vanilla alike. It doesn't matter, it fires for all 3. And if a task ever gets removed, which generally they don't in vanilla, but a mod might remove it, remove gets fired, and the same deal there. You can get characteristics off of it, you can cancel the removal, and you can also cancel the addition. If you literally wanted to stop all AI on the server without changing the set AI enabled flag that's available on Living through command blocks and such, through MBT tags, you can literally go into the event and you can just do event.setCancelTrue in the add event, and nothing on the server will do anything that has AI. So that's another way to go about it. But with the addition of the Pathfinder, I'm really, really looking forward to what people are going to do with it. I can't wait to see some of the crazy stuff. It's been one of my dream things to do, is to add a really nice AI API and have people kind of mess with it. And I'm just about there. So I'm hoping that a lot of you guys out there will just surprise me. I mean, I want to play some fun stuff. Like Socratic Phoenix says, tower defense game. It's not stupid. I mean, bring it on. I want to see tower defense. I want to see zombies try and run down the tower trying to break into it and kill you, and have their AI do that. That sounds like fun. I want to play that game. Or have killer cows. That's something I thought about. Is like cows being in a fence, like you coop them up all day. I mean, if I was a cow and I was cooped up all day, I'd be mad. So if you go and open up the fence gate, have the cows come out of the fence gate and go and try and do that too. Use an AI task to make them think about it. Oh, and that's a good question. What about the dragon? Does he work? Unfortunately, in 1.8, Mojang for the dragon completely handles his AI separately from any system in vanilla. He is completely different, or she is. She's completely different. I haven't looked at 1.9, but I'm hoping they may have changed their mind. But as it stands right now, for some reason, I don't know why, but she's handled specially. That's all I can say. So yeah, that covers AI. So now we are moving back a little bit to causes, which covers our core event framework, and we're going to talk a little bit about named causes. And Gabazil will take over.
Thank you. So the first iteration of cause came around with the Great Event Refactor. And that was, 2 months ago, right, Jaden?
Yeah, that
something
sounds
like
right.
that. And it was all fine and dandy because the only things that we needed to know was that, okay, does it have the player object? Does it have the item stack snapshot? Does it have this? Does it have that? And eventually, when we started getting around with redstone tracking, or rather notification tracking, we had the issue of where there were 2 player objects in the cause, and we didn't know which one was which. So, and someone was suggesting something like having something similar to the command arguments, or the generic arguments that we have with commands API.
That was me.
Yeah, and essentially we've been able to create what's called now named causes, where you submit a named cause that has a string name for the object that you're submitting, and then of course the object. And the idea is that you're able to query for the various, whatever it is that is going to be the source of the cause, or, for example, in the damage event, if it's a damage source that is an owner, or that is owned by another player, you can query for the owner as a user, because the owner might be offline, for example. So the idea with named causes was just associating a static name that we expose in the API, that we have a contractual obligation of saying, okay, you can expect maybe these types of objects under this name if they are in the cause. You can expect these objects to be associated with this name if they are supporters of the cause. For example, in a damage entity event, if you have a damage modifier, you have the modifier source, which is the item stack, and then you have the owner, which is the player itself. Or, for example, if you wanted to write a parties plugin where if you join a party, you automatically take 30% less damage after armor enchantments, you're able to, as a plugin, you're able to say, okay, my damage modifier has the named cause party with the party instance within the cause of the damage modifier. And with regards to change block event and spawn entity event, I'm not 100% sure is updated yet, but throughout all the events that we throw, we will start cleaning up the causes that are being used to be named causes. So you will see throughout the API events some minor additions of some static string constants, and you can query those with named causes. And I'll pass it to Jeeden for any additions that he may have.
Not truly any major additions apart from what you said. The biggest thing is that we knew we needed named causes. Otherwise, it comes down to relying on Java docs to explain ordering, which Java docs should always be used as a reference. They shouldn't be used as an explanation. You should always strive to have the code explain itself if possible. So that was kind of a happy compromise, was doing a system like that. We've got some more stuff that we have planned to change on cause itself, and as Gabazos stated, that we're going to do with named causes in the events, and we think that will cover most things. The cause system has already paid off dividends compared to alternatives that we could have went through, and it even pays off more once we start looking towards some of the work that Nick/Demon has made with his event filtering. If you want to spend a few minutes to talk about it, I know it's still fairly new, but it's got a lot of potential.
Yeah, sure. It's just something that we've been cooking up in the last few days to try and cut down on the amount of boilerplate that you have to write when writing your event listeners. So filters let you set preconditions for your event filter. So, I only want my event listener called if, say, the cause has a player. So you can add a parameter to your event listener and annotate it with some of the new annotations we're adding, and it will be automatically determined. But yeah, it's still pretty new. We're just seeing how magic we want to go, because all event filters are heavily based on unicorn blood.
Do we want to show a current example of that? I think you have one on your PR.
I've got a couple, yeah. Let me find one quickly.
Yeah, because this one is one that's definitely this one's definitely a lot easier shown than it is explained.
I'm just going to link Adam to bring up the PR at least.
I just linked a test plugin in both Dash Staff and the Twitch chat.
Okay.
So this has a whole bunch of listeners in it that have various filters applied.
Okay, I'm looking at that.
So there's filters here for filtering out certain subtype of events. So say you can listen to some more overarching event like entity event, and then filter out just, I only want the I don't know, player join and leave events, or I just want all of the damage and death related events. It's a little more fine-grained that way. There's filters for the cancellation state of the event. So if an event, it's kind of similar to the ignore cancelled flag we had in listener before, except now you can say, I want my listener to only be called if it's been previously cancelled, or I want it to be called regardless of the cancellation state. That's a new annotation now. And then farther down, there's some listeners that deal with the cause. So there's an at first, at last, and at all annotation that you put on extra parameters that you apply to your listener. And then these will be automatically populated from the cause with objects matching that type. Or if it's not found in the cause, your listener simply won't be called. So this really cleans up the code you have to write in your event listeners and lets you have more space just for logic.
Right. The nice thing I like about this system too is obviously it's a bonus, or not really a bonus, but it's always a good thing if you're able to remove lines of code but keep the same functionality. And that's exactly what this system would do. Because from what we've seen, and believe it or not, guys, for those of you that write plugins that are sitting in our channel right now, we actually do go out and read your guys' code. So if we want to get that shocker out of the way, then go for it. And it's not, we don't want you guys to kind of be worried that we're reading your code. We're trying to figure out how you are using our API and figure out areas that we need to change or we need to improve. And the one thing that we've seen is almost every single listener would start with a cost check, and it was almost always with like an optional of type player, and it would be checking to see if the root was a player or if there was a player object in the cause. And then if it was present, you would run your listener. And it's like, every single plugin is doing this, and it's doing it all over the place. And it's really nice because this system right here, you have that guarantee now. And it's at least for the annotation side of our events. If you have to elect to use an event listener object itself, then unfortunately, you'll have to do your own thing. But if you use our listeners the same way that most people use our listeners, you're going to really, really like this system. And it's, from what I've seen so far, it's really well done, and I can't wait to see any additional things that you add in the future. So let me see here. That basically covers up like named causes and event filtering. So now we're going to move on to data implementation, or I should say more data implementation, and what you're going to be doing in the future, Gabizo.
Thank you. So, as we all know, data is kind of the largest monstrosity that has ever come from an API, mostly because of the amount of implementation required. Fortunately, I am happy to say that we have reached the over 50% mark on data being implemented for a while now. And thankfully, it's actually been mostly from various contributors, not just myself.
Yeah, really thanks for that, guys. We can't stress that enough. You guys really came together to help us on it.
I'm just going to link the issue again. So, Mumfrey, bring that up.
Okay, it's up.
So, the checklist is a little out of date. I haven't had a chance to update it in the last week or so. Mostly because, as we were mentioning earlier, I did have to take care of the damage event. But the goal is that, if not all of data will be implemented by the end of the year, by beta release. If we can, that would be amazing. The few that I could imagine not being implemented at the time by beta would be things that are depending on other larger PRs for implementation, such as statistics,
Map
or
data.
cleanup of the attribute data, for example, or map data. But for example, some more complex data like mob spawner data should be implemented at the very least by beta release, as populators use that for dungeons and whatnot. But yeah, that's the general gist of it. There is a plan. I do have a plan to introduce the abstraction layer of creating custom data manipulators in the API, so that plugin developers can use that, so that they don't have to either depend on a library or re-implement it in every single one of their projects. And that's been going well, I'd say. We have been discussing a few options on performing mixins to simplify even further generating the methods like copy or as mutable or as immutable. And then we've also been discussing the possibilities of custom data being stored externally, but that is still up in the air as far as decision making goes. But the idea is that custom data introduced by plugins will ideally be saved, and they will not be pruned, or they won't be lost between server restarts if the plugin was not loaded the second restart, for example. And then I think that's about it. I'll pass it back to Gene for the inventory events, since he has had probably the most experience testing it with Blood.
The one thing just before we do that, the one thing I want to bring forth as far as the data implementation is two things. The first thing is I tasked Gavazo with coming up with ways to minimize the implementation necessary. It ended up needing a whole bunch of spooky abstract level classes in common to pull it off, but I think that's probably one of the ways that has really paved the way forward for people to come help us, is that it's not nearly as difficult as it was in the past. So Gavazo did a wonderful job with minimizing it, and we, even to this day, we continue to look for new ways to trim that down, seeing as how it's such an integral part of the API. And I've used some of the principles that we've learned in data and making choices I've done with AI, because there will be an issue started eventually about having people step up and help interface out the vanilla AI. There's about a good, I think 50 or 75 of them or something like that, Aaron.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so we'll have to get those done eventually. Other than that, the second thing is with data. He mentioned, as far as with plugins not getting their data removed if they're not installed on the server on the second reboot. That's been an important part about talking about custom data. It is already working, as Faith KO just mentioned in the chat. The biggest thing is that we're trying to make sure that not only if the plugin is not there, the data won't be removed, but also if they end up running the server without Forge or Sponge, should we consider still handling it correctly, or should we accept the fact that if you run your server purely vanilla, and I'm not talking about Sponge vanilla, purely vanilla, if your plugin's data will get lost? Obviously, we have to draw the line in the sand eventually, and it's kind of been something that eventually we're going to have to make a decision on. Right now, the custom data is stored along in what they call the Forge's data tag, which all the entities have, as well as tile entities. and Sponge Vanilla stores it in the same system. And I do this to ensure that if you do decide that you no longer want to use SpongeForge because you don't need mods, and Sponge Vanilla is updated one-to-one with the Forge side, you'll be able to keep all of your plugins custom data and you won't have to worry about it. So you'll probably see a lot more on this in the coming weeks as we finally come up with a solution that fits the best use case. It's just something that we thought that we would mention here. So that's basically it with data. So moving on now, talking about inventory events. So there's been two parts about the inventory API/implementation that we needed to get done. The first part is the inventory system itself, as far as having the vanilla inventory objects and container objects be usable with Sponge. And that's been basically Mumphrey's baby, and he has been the one that primarily works on that. The second one has been, now that we have a container open and you click in it, what happens? Blood and myself got together and we sat down and we redid the inventory events that were sitting in Sponge, or I should say what little of them that were there. We added a whole bunch of new ones, and we're happy to report that every single one of them are firing right now. We catch click events, drag events, and, anything you can think of that the vanilla client actually tells us. We catch them on a packet level, and they are being fired on Sponge's end. Probably the best way to show it would be to, I'm going to link you to click inventory event, Mumphrey, just 1 second.
Okay. Maybe one of us should just sing to cover the awkward silence. Any volunteers?
Spam.
Oh, I really shouldn't have suggested that.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, that's displayed.
So I'm going to wait for my end to catch up here. Alright, so if you see, there's a whole lot of stuff going on here. So there's a whole bunch of events that the client tells us about. And as I said, we catch it on the packet level. So basically when it comes in, Blood uses his same tracking system that he came up with for entities as well as block setting. And we do it for inventory too. And if you read down here, unfortunately I haven't docked any of this because it's something else that's on the list to do. But a lot of this should be self-explanatory. Basically, primary, middle, and secondary literally means left click, middle click, right click. Creative is still handled really odd in the base game. Basically, it's a completely separate concept from clicking in survival for whatever reason. And creative doesn't also get nearly half the events that survival does because, well, that's Mojang. But creative is its own separate thing, and there's another interface for all of creative's events. Shift should be the same deal. If you shift and you shift primary, it means you shift left click shifts, and then you can right click shift. Double is obviously when you do a double click, and I think that combines lots of stacks together that are the same type if they can. Drop is, basically how did you drop it? Did you drop one, or did you do that one thing that lets you drop full? Did you just pick up a stack and drop it outside so we can catch all of this? Then there's drag, where you drag it over the inventory. Again, nice little event for it. And last, number press. Basically, did you press a number on the keypad to do a
a switch
do
between the different.
yeah to do a switch.
Yeah, it
There you
switches what you're mousing over with the corresponding slot in the hotbar. So
There you go.
if you mouse over, say, a stack of wood in your main inventory, and you press 1, the wood stack will go to slot 1 in your hotbar, and whatever was in your hotbar, which could be air, will go to where your mouse was.
Yep. So as I said earlier, I'm happy to say that every single one of these fire. So if you do anything with inventory, every single thing is working great, which is awesome, to say the least. And there are more inventory-like events. As I said, there's a creative interface, but that one is just kind of basically this, but with its own sort of deal. Another one is the recipe stuff, but we've kind of pushed off doing anything more with recipes until probably after the beta. But it'll deal some with inventory events. So that covers kind of that part of it. The second part is the actual inventory implementation itself, where basically our API classes map, or at least map into different things that eventually map to a vanilla class. And in this case, that's Mumphrey's sort of deal, and he's worked on it for a while, and it's a different beast. Thankfully, where inventory was concerned, we were able to do our inventory stuff. We got out of his way, and he's able to do what he's done so far, and he never got in our way, which really worked on our benefit because it allowed us to get the events part done first. And at the very least, you can still use Minecraft code in your plugin if you set up your plugin in a way. And if you want to know how to do that, then ask us afterwards, and we'll be more than happy to show you. And you're able to do stuff with inventory and still use our events, and this still works fine. I don't know if you want to just give a broad discussion about your inventory implementation so far, Mumphrey, because I know if you talk about it in depth, you're gonna make people's heads spin.
Yeah, I guess the best way to do it would be to sort of think about it from a quite a high level. Basically, the biggest problem we've got with, I say problem, the biggest consideration when doing this versus with Bucket is that we can't just do, like most of the API, we can't just implement it with vanilla in mind. Everything is designed from the ground up to have mods as well, so to support mods as well. And if anybody's read through what my inventory API design actually was aiming to achieve, you'll realize that the idea is to completely decouple plugins from actual instances of inventories and basically get them to explain what they want by describing what they want to achieve as a query. The way that we're achieving that, or the way that I'm achieving that in the actual implementation, is that every inventory that you will interact with as a plugin developer is actually talking to the underlying implementation through a kind of quite modular. Sorry, I'm trying to navigate through the tree at the same time and getting myself tangled up. Through a quite modular system known as lenses, which is basically allows us to have our query-based implementation and the underlying Minecraft implementation, and the lenses connect those two things together. A little while back, just so that you guys could see what was going on, I pushed the lens implementation up to a temporary branch in Sponge Common, so anybody who's interested in reading about how the lenses basically work and how they interact with the underlying inventories should look at that. The best part about this is that because lenses are decoupled from both the API and the underlying implementation, the idea is that a mod that wants to support the API can provide lenses to us, or if you say have a mod called Thorncraft or but Biomes Plenty or something like that, you don't have to have that mod supported if someone is willing to write a plugin which provides lenses for it, and then you can have those mod provided inventories accessible from your plugins by simply running queries on them. Am I explaining this adequately? I'm trying to summarize, and I'm not really very good at that. I'm more of a talk for several hours on end kind of person.
Basically, and I'll try and summarize it a bit for him. Lenses are kind of like a compatibility layer. And
yeah, exactly.
we provide a compatibility layer with Mojang's inventory framework that they have in the base game, which is fine. And then the problem is that we cannot make any assumptions about what mods do. Mods are able to completely overwrite everything in inventory as well as container and do whatever they want to do. So to handle this, in case they end up doing so, we have to include a system in which a mod can decide to support Sponge. But if they don't want to support Sponge, then a plugin can come by and register a lens for the mod container that's in question and have that compatibility layer in place.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yep, so basically we have this in place to make sure that no matter what, there is a chance to be able to guarantee that a mod inventory will work with. And another thing I want to point out too, and this goes back to events, is that even in a mod container, our events are firing right now. Ultimately, even if a mod can override everything, they cannot, and I mean they cannot get around the fact that they have to eventually become a container to show an interactable thing to a player, like the survival container. So we will catch them eventually, and due to being at the packet level, they can't get around the packets either, not without completely undoing what the game is doing. So we don't have to rely on the mods throwing the events, because in the mod world, mods rarely ever throw events, and I mean rarely. So it's Sponge's goal, and it puts a lot of burden on us, but it's our goal to ensure that even if a mod won't do it, well, you know what? We'll do it instead. And that really is the power of Blood's system, for blocks or entities, and now for inventory, that we can do so. It is our goal with the other side of the coin with Mumphrey's system that we can make the compatibility layer so that given a mod container or given a vanilla container, not only can you grab that container and actually interact with it outside of events, that you can also create your own container, or not necessarily container, but inventory in this case. Create your own inventory and show it to a player, which we have an API as well. And you could do that in the Minecraft code too. I mean, that's not impossible. I have another good example of this too. Give me just 1 second and I will give you a link to Backpack.
The one thing I should mention as well is just because a mod doesn't provide custom lenses to us doesn't mean that it's not accessible via the inventory API. It just means that it will only be accessible in a very basic way, like you would be able to interact with it through the as if you cast it just purely to iInventory, as in those basic functions are always available because there are a default set of index lenses that are available regardless.
Okay, I put it in the staff channel.
Okay, I'll put that up on the stream. Yeah, there you go.
I pasted it as well to the TeamSpeak. So for while that's coming up on our screen, for some of you that may have used the Bucket server and may have had a plugin called Backpack, that was a plugin done by Almira Dev. Doctor had it up on his account. It was an effort by him and myself. That was actually the very first plugin I think I ever released was Backpack. And it was kind of symbolic to me to, being that was my first one, to come back for Sponge and redo it for Sponge and, and make it better. So in this event right here, this is interact inventory event.close, which I actually never mentioned that one. That's another interface of events. Basically, it's for kind of the general interact events, and I think the only thing I have in it right now is open and close. So what I'm saying is that they had the backpack open, but now they closed it. And right now I elected I would save it to SQL on close, which is not the best thing in the world to do, but I was more testing than anything else. So this plugin has access to the Minecraft sources because I set it up that way. So even though that Mumphrey's system is not ready to go yet, that doesn't stop me from writing a plugin that just works. Right now, I am grabbing the container. If the container is chest, because that's kind of how Backpack is done. And I should say that Backpack basically just opens something that looks like a chest to you, but with a different title. It's colored, and basically you can put stuff in that backpack and it will be persisted. And the moment you reopen it, you'll have it. So it's kind of like carrying around a portable chest, but I just call them backpacks. And if the lower chest inventory, which is a bad name from MCP, that actually means that the upper one. If the upper one is a backpack inventory, which is my object, then I can grab it and I can go ahead and save it to SQL. So you can see that there's a happy marriage here between Minecraft/Forge sources and Sponge system. I can completely interchangeably use the Minecraft sources and still use Sponge where I can. Now, there'll be a day soon in which I can go in here and just remove the Minecraft source code, but that doesn't stop me from being able to write my plugin right now. This is a bit of a kind of a mindset difference between us and Bucket. If you were to use NMS, and obviously it was completely unsupported and you were on your own.
User joined your channel.
But for us, I can easily do this, and it's no problem. And it's something that we actually do tell people that they may have to do as we get things implemented, and we support it as much as we can. So if you've been weary about using the Minecraft source to do something and we haven't implemented yet, and you're worried about, am I going to get support from the Sponge team, we can go ahead and give you the confidence right now in saying that we'll support you as much as we can. But obviously, if you're doing something really odd, we might have to say, hey, we can't support what you're doing. So this is just a small example of some of the stuff that you can do with inventory. Lots of events, and Mumphrey's implementation is on the way. But for now, if you need to do something with just the events, you can. If you need to do something more like creating your own inventory objects and showing it to a player, you still have access to the Minecraft source code to do so. And I think that covers the inventory events. And it brings us to one last thing on the development side of things, which is one game, one server. Now, this is basically explained by the fact that in Bucket, there used to be, or not used to be, but there's a class called Bucket in Bucket. And it was a class that had a whole bunch of getters for a bunch of things. Inside of the Bucket class, it also had the Get server, and then the server class had a whole bunch of stuff too. Bucket is what they call a singleton, which means that there's only one of it. And the server class in Bucket was also a singleton because there's only one of those. Now, for anyone that uses Sponge API so far, you know that the game class, or I should say the game interface, there was only one way to get it, which was the event.getGame generally, or you could use dependency injection to get game as well too. But the impression that we were giving is that there could be multiple game objects.
User was moved to your channel.
Due to the way that the game and such is set up and the API is set up, this is not really the case. there's really only one game and there's really only one server. And what we mean by this is the context that the API is running. If you happen to have like a bungee cord set up, this is not the same thing, so don't confuse the two. The one thing we found out is that having it set up the way that we did is fine, but it makes things a little bit difficult in the sense that it makes the API difficult to use in some spots, as well as plugin developers would like an easier way to get the game anytime if they so wish. So we talked about it. We've compromised down to basically the mantra of one game and one server, which means that in the API there's now a class called Sponge, just like Bucket. Inside Sponge has the all-important game object, as well as a couple of getters to some commonly used things, such as the serialization manager, the immutable data registry, the data manipulator registry, scheduler, and a couple of other things. The difference that we're going to do with this static class versus Bucket, it is not our goal to put anything and everything in it that deals with that can be gotten from the server. We want you to still go through the game to grab the server. We must do this because of the fact that we do work on the client as well. And on the client, you will not have a guarantee that there will be a server available at all times come 1.9. So instead of doing dependency injection or event.getGame, which is still there, you can still do it if you like. You can now do it anytime, sponge.getGame, whatever you want to do. Doing this has actually paved the way for more things that will help the API be more usable. You will also notice that if you look at like item stack now has the builder. So anytime, instead of having to call the methods to go through the game registry to get a builder of itemstack.builder, you can literally call the following, and I'm just going to type it in the Twitch chat. You can literally call itemstack.builder, open close parentheses, and you will get a builder ready to go, ready for you to set stuff on it and be able to build an item stack. This is a... Go ahead.
Sorry, and we've also added itemstack.of, which is even simpler. Because if all you want is just some quantity of an item stack of a particular type, you can just do itemstack.of and pass in your type and quantity, which, like the builder method, just delegates back to the static game.
Absolutely. And we did this because of the feedback that we received that it wasn't difficult to do it the way before, it was just a little bit overly verbose, and it wasn't immediately apparent that that's how you are supposed to do things. The other methods will remain, especially if you're doing it in such a way that you can't call a static context because you're not sure what it's going to be. Let's say you just want a builder, or if you don't know what builder you're going to get, so you just need a call from the game registry. But we're trying to improve the usability. It's going to be one of our huge focus points coming soon. Is now that we have the API mostly finished, we want to work to make it simpler and simpler to use, and work on improving things that we find. And this was just kind of our first quality of life improvement that we've came across, is doing the static Sponge and API, and then starting to add the utility builder methods and the of methods elsewhere. For anyone that uses Guava, you should realize kind of what we're starting to go for here. Because Guava has builders, and then Guava has typical static utility of methods, so it's not unheard of. We're not the first ones to do it. This is just something that we're going to do to kind of help speed things along. But that basically covers the development side of things. Moving on from here, we're going to start talking about a lot of things that we're doing for docs, and I'm going to let Inscrutable take over.
G'day. Yeah, I'm just still waking up here, but For a start, I want to say a special thank you to both Gabazoo and Demon this month for helping us a great deal in collaborating with us and providing documents so that we can actually beat things into them. Into the documents, that is, not the developers. They're being able to give us docs before their features are even fully merged, which is great. Also thanks to TZK and Saladoc and Zirconium and quite a few others for helping give us stuff this month and producing far more than I've been doing lately. I've been worrying about setting up this server for this particular event. But one of the things that we've been able to produce, for a start, lots more data docs, courtesy of Saladoc, an imports cleanup, lots of changes to the staff page, how to read and report bugs on Ser log files, which is a debugging attempt that TZK put together, which is excellent. How to write data manipulators so that we can get those all isolated and out of the way. The great renaming, the Java 8 changes, and more changes to index pages, which we've still got as a work in progress. We're sort of trying to set up 2 columns and see how that works, but we're having some issues with some people having it not work on mobile platforms, so if we can get a bit more feedback on that, it'd be great. It might not happen if it's going to look rotten on mobiles all over the place. And we have a Sponge Docs beta milestone, which basically means we're trying to get a bunch of stuff together that we regard as priority importance to be ready about the same time as beta, if it's going to happen. We could certainly use some more contributions for this particular effort. As always, whenever we get docs too, that often sends a cycle of redevelopment of the various contents of the docs too, as people realise that maybe it needs a bit more here, it needs a bit more there. That certainly happened with data, and it's happening with world generation as well. So it's still in progress, but we're hoping to have it done by beta.
Oh, and obviously the grand shout out. God, we must get people. We can't have too many people doing documentation. We always need more and more people. Even if we had 15 people do it, I say we still need more people. Because unfortunately, due to the rapid development cycle that we're still doing, we tend to change things on them on a daily basis, which means that now they have to go back and change their documentation, which is unfortunate, but they always have to play catch up. So if
we're much happier playing catch up. I mean, it's easier to actually have the stuff in the first place so that we can, fix it than having nothing at all and not knowing what to do.
Absolutely.
And the good thing there is with the beta, things will calm down and docs will be able to remain stable for a lot longer. We need to actually get to that point where most of the docs are complete. So what we don't want to happen is we get to beta, have the whole API ready, and then people still can't understand it because we don't have the docs. So if everyone can pitch in and help us get good documentation going, it will be great for when we actually release Sponge Beta.
Absolutely. There's 2 places you can look at on the Sponge Docs on GitHub. You can look at the Help Wanted pages, or you could even look at our Sponge Docs beta milestones. Both of those having fairly high priority.
Yep. And I just want to mention that even with us needing the shout-outs from people, our project has some of the best documentation I've seen in a Minecraft-like project that's ever came about. And the guys that work on the docs have done a tremendous job. And the contributors that come around and do docs as well. I mean, thank you so much, guys, for helping us out with it. And we'll only get better from here. So I think that pretty much covers everything for the docs. I think I'll turn it over now for OX is going to talk about our preparation for beta and some of the other projects besides development that are getting riled up and ready to go.
Okay then. Well, as many of you have been hearing, we're getting ready for Sponge Beta. Now, the official target for this is before the end of the year. So, rest assured, by the very end of December 31st, Sponge will definitely be out, if not earlier. Honestly, at this stage, we still can't give a fixed date as to if it will be earlier than December 31st, but we've got the latest fixed. So, with that, we've been working towards it. Dev team has been going crazy and just creating a whole bunch of good stuff. And in addition to that, the docs team has been racing ahead and making their beta milestones. So we've got a few more things to sort out. First off, we're planning on releasing beta at State of Sponge 8 if possible. So again, we haven't actually got a fixed date for State of Sponge 8, given that it depends upon the project's status rather than when we like it to be. But it will either be in the last week of December or the very first week of January. We'll let you know as we get closer to that date. We're also working with our server hosting partners to help with the launch, so we're going to try and make sure that they have Sponge servers available to set up as soon as we've launched or very soon after. And we're also going to see if we can get them to help us out a bit with State of Sponge itself and maybe try and get some cool giveaways, but no promises yet. Next off, we're looking for really cool demo material. So anyone who wants to make some awesome plugins, make mods that show off compatibility with Sponge, get working on it. The more cool stuff we can show off at State of Sponge 8, the better. I mean, it's going to be fantastic. If your plugin is truly awesome and manages to get in, you'll be there for a moment of history. So whatever you like, give it a shot. Let us know. This is really good with the plugin competition that Gavazu and Gina will be talking about later. But get working on it, because we'd love to be able to show off all the cool stuff the community does, not just our own. We're also going to be doing modded and non-modded server demos, so we'll be showing off Sponge's compatibility of mods. We're going to show some of that off today, but we're really hoping to show off really detailed features in future. And hopefully we can have some more 1.8 mods come out by that time. Apparently 1.9 is not going to be out this year, so we're fairly set on just doing a 1.8 release. Does anyone else have anything to contribute to State of Sponge 8?
Obviously people do ask us about ore and where that's at. We do have the staging site that ore is available at, which is if someone wants to copy and paste it into the channel. Anytime you can go and kind of tinker with it, that is basically the latest bits that have been staged or put up there. You can mess around with it, submit feedback to Ore's repo. If you are a web developer that's looking to kind of help out with Sponge, but obviously you don't do anything with the Java code or such, do feel free to give a look at Ore's repo. Gradimax is the one that works on it. He cannot be here today. But if you feel that you can help out with it, I mean, absolutely come help us with it. And because Ore does have a lot of potential, and it can turn into a rather big project, something to the likes of what Bucket Dev used to be. Obviously, though, with only one guy working on it, it does move rather slow. So if you feel you can help with it, I mean, don't feel afraid to, and certainly come and help us with it. We certainly would appreciate it.
This is something else we'd really like to have done for beta, because currently we are, as many of you noticed, we're using the forums to just for everyone to post their plugins on and post feedback on. We'd honestly like to get this to move to Ore as soon as feasible, so we don't clog up the forums with all these plugin posts. And it will just be easier to manage. So seriously, if anyone here has experience with web or thinks that they can help out, please do. It's most appreciated.
Yep.
In addition to that, also on the topic of web, I believe we're looking at trying to update our homepage and get a cross-site theme going. So web devs are in big demand. If anyone wants to help out, just let us know. Send us a message.
And that's basically it on the website of things for preparation for beta.
I should probably just
go ahead.
say that we did also have a poll a few weeks back regarding whether we should go with Xamphoro or vanilla forums, but ultimately we've decided to stick with Discourse. the community seems pretty set and seems pretty enthusiastic about this course, so we'll keep it as is.
All right. That pretty much wraps up for preparation for beta on the web side of things. The last entry that we'll have for State of Sponge conference today, and then we'll move into just doing questions and answers, but we'll draw State of Sponge to a close at the end of it, or before we start question time. This is going to be a change from our previous format. But for plugin competition, so I ended up being gifted a copy of Fallout 4 from a good friend of mine / co-worker, because Amazon managed to kind of goof my order up a bit, even though I still got it. So I figured that instead of just, letting it sit there and rot, I came up with an idea to do a plugin competition, and Grinch and myself came up with the details for it, and we started up the thread. Ever since we did so, I'm happy to say that obviously with a free Fallout 4 on the line, and let's face it, it is Fallout 4. People have been really excited and have came forward with ideas about plugins to do. The one thing I do want to point out is I think some of the changes have made it to the main post, or maybe not, but I'm not being super critical on the plugin competition. Our goal is to bring new content to Sponge versus what's existing, which is why that one kind of clause is in place. I'm also not enforcing that you have to do a plugin using solely Sponge. If it does have to use the Minecraft internals, that does not immediately disqualify you. I just don't want someone making a plugin that uses like Sponge to print out, oh, I'm Sponge, and that's it, because that would just be plumb silly. And I have to say, I'm really impressed by some of the things I've seen so far. I know that gosh, I lost what his name was. Just one second.
Gravity Fox?
Obviously, Gravity Fox. I mean, Gravity Fox has got Fox Guard, which is looking really, really good. If you know what World Guard is, it's basically that, but with kind of his own twist to it. That's a contender. I know Client Hacks has a really, really awesome jukebox plugin that basically plays songs on it using jukeboxes, but you don't have to set up a huge redstone contraption. It just plays it from one simple jukebox itself. I know we have a couple of other entries that are starting to crop up on the plugin competition subforum. And let me look to see who's there too.
So I might just take this point to mention that if any of you want to actually get involved and start making Sponge plugins, now's a great time to do it and have a chance to win a copy of Fallout 4. If you're not interested, but you know someone who is, let them know, because the more plugins we have in the competition, the better. I mean, it gives us both the opportunity to expand the amount of Sponge plugins there are, and to just see how creative the community is. I mean, we loved all the entries we've got so far.
Right. I see Hassan has submitted he submitted one that deals with rollback block tracking and more using a blood system that he put into place. So that's another one. And I'm hearing some people talk in the channel about some ones that they are putting forward as contenders for the plugin competition. Remember that you guys have all the way up into, I think I marked it as December 23rd, I believe, or 22nd, one of those two. Basically, at that time, we'll draw a close to all the entries that have been submitted on this subforum, and I will discuss with team members, and we'll take it to a vote, and we'll decide who wins as a team, and then we'll hand out the Steam key to you. And this is not the first plugin competition that we'll do. Obviously, with the foundation and taking in donations and such, our first and foremost priority is not only to pay for some of the fees that the project does incur, but it's also to send people to cons and such. But another kind of thing I would like to do is, if we have anything left over, or even if I use some of my own, or if I have friends that are giving away games and such, I would love to make this kind of a not necessarily monthly thing, but maybe do it a couple of times a year, is hold a big competition, and obviously there'll be something on the line for it, but I think people not only like what's being on the line for it, but they like to have kind of like that bragging rights or such, to be able to go around the forums and go, hey, I was the competition champion, this time around. And I think we can even
we could send them a mouse mat as well. We still have about 8 mouse mats, I think.
Oh yeah, that's true. We could also look into having a couple of like first, second, and maybe third prize place winners too. I don't know if we'll do it on this one. Maybe we could, especially if we have mouse pads left over. But whoever wins is probably going to be mad they didn't get a mouse pad if second place gets a mouse pad.
We obviously we appreciate we'd like donations and stuff on our Patreon, but with this competition, if anyone has any games game codes that they'd like to give away, you could always add those to the competition itself. So you could contribute a prize and allow someone to win it, provide extra incentive for people to get stuck into the comp.
And if we don't use your donation prize this time around, you can send it in to, for instance, to OX, and he'll compile them together, and we'll keep them on hand. And as we do competitions in the future, then we can include your donation as a potential prize. So we could start generating like a pool together and start doing competitions with a prize that we choose to put into the pool. But
yeah, so if anyone's
like
got a code that's just lying around, feel free to contribute it, and we'll use that in the competitions.
Absolutely. I mean, I would love to, and as I said, I would love to do first, second, and third prize winnings. This one was kind of a test run to see how it would go, and I really like how things are going so far. And I'm hoping to see some serious contenders come December 23rd. I have a couple of mine I know that are pretty serious so far, and I think it's really going to go good. So, let me see here. If anyone else has anything to add in regards to the plugin competition?
Yeah, with the game codes, humble bundles that you've had like duplicate keys in, they're a great place to actually find game codes you haven't actually used.
Oh, that's a good point. You, Owen, you have something to add too?
That was literally what I was about to suggest.
Oh yeah.
He got to me first.
Yep. Yeah, I'm hoping we'll definitely do some things to kind of really make the prizes really sweet. And I figured that with Fallout 4, I mean, that right there, that was going to really draw some interest, especially with it just coming out. So we're also, and we won't just do games either. I mean, I'm hoping that we can, because everyone loves the little spongy face. And I know at Minecon, the merchandise that we had on hand that we gave out to people, from what I was told, people absolutely adored it. Especially
blood was shed. Like, blood was shed, people crawling, fighting each other to get the mouse mats.
So we could do like a small package of stuff like that as a potential prize.
Yeah, the other thing, I might be able to put in the mix is like give somebody a sponge server for a year or something like that, because there are plenty of servers that I can give people.
Oh, yeah, something like that too. That would work.
Maybe we could drum up some interest from our server host partners. Maybe they'd be willing to put in one in the prize pot as well.
That sounds good. So with that said, I think that we're going to go ahead and draw the conference to a close. Our format changes this time versus last time is basically at this point when we draw the conference to a close, and this will be going forward, we will go ahead and have State of Sponge done. Then we'll open up to question and answer time. We'll just continue doing that until basically we don't really have any questions anymore. At this time, we will also go ahead and open up the 2 servers that we have the demo today. We have the mod server, which was mentioned, which has the FTB pack, Feed the Beast pack, that you can go to in the Feed the Beast launcher. We also have just a straight Sponge server, which you can join with your vanilla client. At this point, let's go ahead and draw it to a close. Let's go ahead and link the server IPs to the chats. And it was a really good conference. We wanted to strive to not keep you guys nearly as long this time. We'd rather just let you guys play around on the server and just enjoy playing with the Sponge team. And with that, we are adjourned. Thanks, guys. We now go into questions and answer time. So if you have questions, go ahead and bring them on, and I'll be glad to answer them, or someone else will. Let me see. Let me open up my